Good evening. Today we're taking a look at this little USB charger and voltmeter for your car or side-by-side or snowmobile or boat or whatever type of application. You see quite a few varieties of these. If you're going to use it in a boat or snowmobile or someplace with splashing water or snow, you would want to make sure that you use this cover here to increase the water resistance and dust and mud, for that matter, on any kind of a side-by-side or UTV. They do include a wiring harness that's set up with ring terminals appropriate for a battery. There's a fuse holder, so there's going to be a fuse in there, and then these ends can go right on there. I'm just going to use some test leads from my workbench today because that's just a little easier than me opening up that harness. So it's nice and small, light, plastic, looks pretty good, and it is labeled back here that this side is positive and this side is negative, so nice and clear, no ambiguity about that. Just make sure we have a good attachment on there. I'm going to set the accessories aside for the moment. Try it with a couple of batteries. Here's a lithium iron phosphate battery that is fully charged, so you'll notice that when connected to power, it does not automatically come on, so that's neither a good thing or a bad thing for me, and depending on your use case, something to just be aware of. So when power is applied, the default state is off, and you press the button once and it turns on. It's showing right at 13.8 there, if the camera can make that out. Hopefully that is in focus, and that actually matches my Bosch multimeter pretty much on the dot, so it's looking like an accurate meter so far. It's showing 13.8, which is just one bar into the green area, and 13.83 is what I'm showing on my multimeter, so that's good. Short press turns off the display. Maybe the light's annoying, maybe you don't want it. I'm guessing that this means that the USB ports are still on, and then a long press turns everything off. And so even if you turn it on and you leave it on and you unapply power and wait a few seconds for whatever capacitors or whatnot to drain out inside, when you apply power again, it does not come back on. You will always, it seems, have to press the button, a short press, to get that to come on. So my preference, I think, would have been for it to come on with power applied or to remember its last state, but that's okay. I'm more impressed by the accuracy of the meter, more so than anything else, because I think this is going to be really nice in a classic car of mine where, you know, it's old and the alternator could go at any time. It's just nice to be able to keep an eye on that. So something I'm curious about is to know if I left this on, since tying it to the ignition doesn't mean anything, is there any standby current draw when it's off? So I'm going to hook it through this other multimeter now that is going to be set up as an ammeter, and we will use that to see if it's drawing any significant power. I am actually getting a reading, it looks like. It's a low one, and obviously it's not on right now, but I'm showing, what is that? It's something very low. I probably need to move this lead over to read out of that. So about just under 3 milliamp it looks like, of standby current draw, so depending on your application, that might be something to be aware of. 3 milliamps is going to take an awfully long time to put a dent in a car battery, but I'm still going to consider this when I'm deciding whether to hook it up to a permanent line to the battery or something that's switched with the ignition. When I turn it on, looks like we use about 7, just under 8 milliamps to start, and then just under 7 milliamps of standby current to run the array of LEDs here, and that may vary a little bit, light up the last few LEDs, and that might go up just a little bit. Oh, but that's, yeah, so 6.8 milliamp there. Turn off the LEDs but leave the USB ports activated. We're down to 3 milliamp. Long press to shut it off, and yeah, back to that 2.8 whatever. So there is some standby current draw on it. It looks like not enough to matter for many or most intentions, but something to be aware of. I'll turn that on there, and we can put an actual USB cord in here and see how the performance is. This is not really a scientific test, I just have this app on my phone. So it is charging, and it's assessing the input current. Looks like we're getting a 1.5 amp it's not too shabby. If I check what the phone was drawing at an idle, it's probably about 250 or 300. Yeah, 300 or so. So if that's what if we were getting 1.5 net, then that's pretty good. That's a pretty good charger. Maybe not the fastest in the world, but it'll put appreciable juice into a phone without any issue. Looks like we dropped down to 3.6, and that is accurately reflected. We've dropped that green 3.8 LED, went down one, so that surprised. The accuracy of the meter actually looks really pretty good, all things considered. I think here I'll try one other battery. Just have to move a couple of things around briefly. Slide this bigger one in here. Get a hold of it. Alright, got a big lead acid battery here with a little bit less, well, I think it's full, but a full lead acid battery is a little bit lower voltage than a full lithium iron phosphate battery. So just to see a different reading, bear with me while I hook all of these up again here. Yeah, one more. Must have been this one. Yep. And so let's see. Now this one is showing 13.2, and we are at the LED right in between 13.0 and 13.4, so 13.2. That makes perfect sense. So at least in this range that we're looking here, this looks very, surprisingly accurate. It's not easy for small devices to read their own source voltage, but this one seems to do a good job. So that looks pretty good overall. I would say it looks pretty nice. I kind of wish that cool gauge would come on by default when power is applied. And let's see, drawing about 3 milliamps. while powered off. That's minor, but I might just put it on a switched ignition line anyways, just to avoid any parasitic loss in my battery. I might and I might not, because it's really nice to be able to check the voltage of the battery, and 3 milliamps, that's not gonna drain my car battery unless I don't drive it for a good couple of months or something. So I think it might just get direct connected. I'm going to take an easy peek at what the battery voltage is, since it looks like I can relatively trust its accuracy. So yeah, really a nice little gauge, all in all. Looks nice, simple and easy to understand at a glance, even if you aren't peering at the specific numbers. But you know, red is bad, yellow's maybe look, and green, you're definitely good. If the engine's running, alternator spinning, and you're in the green, good to go. Yellow, well, if the engine's off and it's yellow, you might be fine. You just need to know what the situation is. So this is really nice. I really like this. Really creative with the gauge design. Really handy with the USB ports. So I'd say this deserves a good thumbs up.